All right, in ALEKS, there are some area and perimeter of a rectangle problems. And in these problems, basically, you're going to need to remember the area and perimeter formulas. So area of a rectangle equals the length times its width. And the perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times its width. So if you don't know these already, you should kind of study them a little bit so you can easily recall the area and perimeter for a rectangle. Okay, so you can always draw yourself a little picture whenever you're doing a word problem. Sometimes that helps. Okay, and so in this problem here, it tells us the length of a rectangle is 5 meters longer than its width. And in this case, you can kind of write this like a sentence. And we're going to use L for our length and W to represent our width. So the length of a rectangle is, we're going to write that as L is equals 5 meters longer than its width, which means if we know the width, we're going to add 5 more meters to it. And that would give us the length. So the length is 5 meters longer than its width. So we're going to write that as an equation. And then it tells us that the perimeter of a rectangle is 42 meters. So perimeter is 42 meters. And we want to know the area. I like to write down what I'm looking for because sometimes it just might want to know the length or the width, and other times it wants you to calculate some additional information. But what we're going to do is, given the information that we have and the formulas that we have, we can use this information to solve for the length and the width, and then use that to find the area. Okay? So we know if P is 42 meters, that means that twice the length plus twice the width is 42 meters. So basically, and you can get rid of that m there so it doesn't look like an additional variable. So basically what we're doing here is we converted this into an equation that only has that has the same variables as this equation here, which is L and W. So now we have two equations and two variables, two unknowns. And so we know we can solve this using either the substitution method or the addition elimination method. Okay? So this is solved for L, so I'm going to go ahead and use the substitution method. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the L in this equation here with the W plus 5, because this equation says that L is the same thing as W plus 5. So 2 times W plus 5 plus 2W equals 42. And what that does is it gives me one equation with one variable in it. Yes, this variable occurs more than once, but it's the same variable, W. And that's what we want. Now we can solve this equation. So we're going to go ahead and simplify this left side of the equation by doing some distribution here and adding like terms. Okay, so 2 times W is 2W, plus 2 times 5 is 10. We're going to add that to this 2W here. We'll just rewrite the right side for now. And then we can see we have two like terms. 2W plus 2W is 4W. Plus 10 equals 42. And now we're going to just use our solving equation rules here. So we're going to subtract 10 from both sides. We get 4W equals 32. And now we're going to divide both sides by 4, and you get W equals 8. And this is meters. So our width is 8 meters. Okay. And we can find out what the length is by plugging it back into this equation up here. Okay, you could plug it into either one of the original equations, but we're going to plug it into that one since it's already solved for L. So we're going to replace W with 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. So the length is 13 meters. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take these two pieces of information, because the question asked us to find the area, and we're going to plug these things both in to the area formula, which area equals length times width. So length is 13 times width is 8, and this would be meters times meters, which will give us a total of 104 meters squared, because meters times meters would be meters squared. And that is how you find the area given information about the length and the width and the perimeter. Let's look at another problem. In this question, it tells us that the length of the rectangle is 5 times its width. So we're going to set that up very similar to what we did before. Length equals 5 times its width. So 5 times the width. And then we have that the area of a rectangle is 245 centimeters squared. And we want to know what the perimeter is. Okay, so we can replace the A here with length times width, so that we have the same variables as our other equation here. And we'll just drop the centimeters squared so we don't get that messed up with the variables. And now we can use substitution to replace the L here with the 5W, because again in this equation here length equals 5 times the width. It tells us that 5W is the same as L. So we replace L with 5W. Now we simplify the left side here. 5W times W is 5W squared. And at this point we're going to use our rules here, solving equation rules, which means we need to undo this multiplication before we undo the square here. So we're going to divide both sides by 5, and 245 divided by 5 is 49. And now at this point is when you would take the square root of both sides and you could have a plus or minus solution, which would give you W equals plus or minus 7, but our width cannot be negative, so we just need to consider the positive part of our solution. So W is 7. Okay, so we found the width. Our goal is to find the perimeter, and for the perimeter we need twice the length plus twice the width. We need to know both of our dimensions. So we're going to take this width and we're going to plug it back into this equation up here. And so you get length equals 5 times W. W is 7. So length is 35. Okay, so now we have our length and we have our width. So we're going to take both of these things and plug them in to our perimeter formula, which is 2 times the length, which is 35, plus 2 times the width is 7, and so that's going to give us 70 plus 14, because remember you need to multiply before you add. We're following our order of operations. and 70 plus 14 is 84. And these were centimeters. So this is 84 centimeters is our perimeter.